Hey there fellas, today I'm going to show you how to make this anime style animation in Blender on any type of mesh, and I'll also show you the deformation I use for this mesh. Okay, so let's get on with the tutorial. Alright, so let's hit up a new Blender file, open Blender, and you'll see a default cube. You do not really have to delete it because I'm going to be using a cube for this. Okay, you may use any mesh you like. Okay, if you're just looking for the materials, but for now the first step I'll be showing is how I did the deformation. So first and foremost, I'm going to select the cube. Okay, and then go to modifiers tab, add modifier, search, and search for subdivision modifier. Okay, now I want you to have the level view to be at 2. Okay, that should be far enough. If you go higher than that, your laptop might or your computer might have overload, so you do not want that. Anyways, let's go ahead and add a screw modifier this time. Okay, screw modifier, and you see there is not much going on here except for the extra geometry added. Okay, and if you go to edit mode, you'll see the cube is as it is. That's because we haven't applied the modifier. Okay, that means the geometry hasn't been applied, but rather it's showing in viewport. Okay, it's showing us in preview basically. Okay, what it will look like if we apply it. Now in screw, you have to change from Z axis to Y so that it faces this direction. Or actually you can, yeah, you can have it in Z actually. Okay, it's your wish. Okay, and then after that, the maximum number of iterations here, well, you can have about as many as you want. Okay, just don't go too overboard, as you know it might be too much to handle. Okay, but there is one thing you do have to change, and that is the angle. Okay, now what this angle will do, it will determine how many or what each thread of a screw at how much angle it makes, right? So I'm gonna decrease it about, okay, this is a bit less. Okay, so around 2.8. Okay, now you can see that we are not getting the desired mesh that I initially showed you. That's because we need to add yet another modifier. Okay, and this time you're gonna click on and search for simple deform. Now why do we need simple deform? What simple deform does is that it deforms the mesh based on either twisting, bending, tapering, or stretching. Okay, so it's like, think of it as, you are twisting a rubber or elastic substance. Okay, an elastic object. So this becomes an elastic object, and you can twist it by any angle you want. And I'm gonna be twisting it about 360 degrees. Okay, because I want those twists and turns here. Okay, you may choose bending or any type you want. Okay, if you want this kind of geometry or this or this, you can, play around here to, see if it fits your needs. Okay, and tapering basically, there's an origin point here and it tapers based on that. Okay, so yeah, I won't delve too much into it as I'm gonna be focusing on twisting. So have the angle at 360 here. Okay, and yeah, have it on Z. Okay, because it should be around the same. Okay, keep it same. otherwise the twisting will be different and the face angle will be different when you're gonna be deleting few vertices here and there. So you have the twists and turns here done, right? Okay. Maybe keep it x-axis for now because it looks kind of cooler that way. I don't know. Now that we have made the mesh, right? Now we aren't gonna apply the modifier. Rather, we can actually go to edit mode and you can see that we have 4 faces. Or how many faces does the cube have? 6, right? So we can select one of the faces, the one you want, and press P, then press selection. Okay, what this will do, it will separate this face from the rest of the mesh. Okay, now go back to object mode and you can select this part that you separated. Okay, and press V, G, and G to move, and you get this mesh. Okay, now you may select some other meshes, like maybe you want this. Okay, and yeah, this is why I told you to actually have it on the z-axis. Okay, maybe if we go over here and then we can change, right? Yeah, my bad. Let me select this part and press V. All right, now okay, it seems the deformation has only taken place like here. So you need to keep that in mind. That's because we still have the screw here, okay? And the deformation will only take place where it's been deformed. Anyways, let's focus on this one, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and hide them and also click on disable renders because the if you do not do this, this part of the mesh will be rendered out as well. Okay. As for this, yeah, you can have this kind of mesh as well. Okay, it's up to you. All right. And now, if you want to make modifications, you can. Okay. Now, if I try to rotate, right? If I try to rotate, it's showing it's not rotating properly, or rather, it's not rotating along the origin point because the origin point right now is this dot right here. Okay, I hope you guys can see it. Okay, this dot right here is the origin point of this cube. Okay, as for this one, it's the origin point, this one. All right. So how do we fix this? It's pretty simple. Make sure you're in object mode and click on object, set origin, and origin to geometry. Right. Now what this will do is will deform the mesh into something like this. Right. We do not want that. Right. So yeah, you can keep it like this. Okay. It's showing like this because I haven't actually applied the modifiers, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply them. Okay. Select the mesh right here, and there is a drop down menu right here next to the cross sign. If you click there, you'll have the option of applying it. So apply all of them as we'll be using it. Next, now if you set origin, go to object, set origin, and origin to geometry. Now you can rotate it properly without any change in the geometry. Why is that? Because after applying, if you go to edit mode, you'll see there are a lot of vertices. That means a lot of details have been added. You can shade it smooth to make it look I don't know, a little bit better, but hey, that's up to you. Now, let's focus on this mesh right here. After doing all of that, let's go ahead and edit the mesh, right? You can delete few vertices here and there. Okay, now this is a very tedious task, and this is the only issue with this kind of method is because there are a lot of vertices, and even if you add a decimate, I don't think it will decimate that many vertices. Okay, so yeah, keep that in mind when you're using this kind of method. Okay, but yeah, and also if suppose you do not apply, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and control Z all the way to the point where I haven't applied in any of the modifiers. Okay, the advantage is that, okay, now it's facing this first way. Maybe we can have it face the correct way. So tweak around here and there. I suppose it's not facing it. I suppose that's the problem with this kind of method. Alright, that's why I suppose we should, you know, should have done it before applying the simple deform, but oh well. Now, I suppose we'll have it like this, okay? Sorry about the undos I've been doing, okay? I just wanted to show you the advantage. If you do not apply them, there is another option of, editing. You can move the vertices around the mesh. You can add subdivisions, okay, to add more details to specific areas, okay, something like this. Okay, it doesn't look too good, not gonna lie. I suppose I'll just stick back to applying it, okay. So yeah, wait, maybe we can delete one of the vertices and yeah, it totally deforms it. Do not want that. Okay, I think I'll settle for this kind of mesh. Okay, make sure to, make any modifications you want in edit mode before applying it, as if you try to make modifications later, as you have seen before with my case, there were too many vertices to delete and it becomes very tedious. Anyways, apply all the modifiers like I told you before, then press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. Wait, why did I do that? I don't know. But if you do that, nothing really happens. Actually, you need to go to Object, Set Origin, and set origin to geometry. All right. Now let's go ahead and press R. I always mess this up. Okay. So after pressing R, try to press R, X, and then 90. All right. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and hide these. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add the material to this mesh. All right. So let's go to the shading tab. Okay. Now here for rendering any, okay, let's first add the material and I'll tell you about the rendering part later. Okay. So we have the principal BSDF. This is the default material that you have. Okay. Now let's go ahead and press Shift A. Okay. I don't know why it's not showing the screencast keys here. No. It shows in the viewport. I think. No, it doesn't show. No idea why, but I'm gonna dictate and you guys follow. Okay. So press Shift A and search for a Murgrave texture. Okay. it will be Musgrave. Okay, this is a poorly noise texture. Okay, it has controlled noise texture, you may say. And now for controlling the position of, okay, first we have these options, the height, and just, you know, uh, left click on it and then drag to the space and then search color ramp. Okay, and what this Musgrave texture will do, it will determine the fact value. Okay, the fact value, which will determine how much spread out the colors are. Okay, I'll show you by an example. Okay, make sure to change the color ramp from linear to constant. Okay, because we're dealing with a tune shader type texture. Okay, and then click left click on the color and then drag it to the base color, then left click on alpha and drag it to the alpha. Okay, I don't know if it's necessary to, I mean, even if you do not drag it to the alpha, it will still work. Okay, and another thing you can do is have an emission. So emission also has the color option. Okay, so you can have the same color ramp and add it. Okay, or if you want to go for a constant color without any variation of colors, okay, you may, press control and disable it, and then you can change the color. Now you can see that there is nothing going on here, right? That's because we are not in render view. So we are in materials preview mode. Okay, so you need to click on the fourth option right at the top right corner. Okay, and when you do, you'll see this, right? Now you still don't see anything. That's because I have the emission strength at 0. Now if you turn it up, see something going on. Okay, now for this tutorial I'm gonna show you with the color ramp. So drag the color from the color ramp to the emission color. Okay, then you'll see that we have this black and white color shown over here. Now if you want, now I would recommend here adding different colors to, you know, mix it up a bit. Okay, so this is the basic tune shader type thing you may see a lot of times. Okay, yeah, and now that we have this, okay, we can add some more controlled texturing, or rather more controlled flow for this texture. Okay, so I told you that this is a noise texture, right? A poorly noise texture with, much more control. So for controlling each and every component of this texture right here, you have to press Control T to have the texture and mapping. Now if you are not able to get this, or rather it's not working for you, that's probably because you have the node wrangler disabled. Okay, so node wrangler is an add-on. It's a built-in add-on in Blender. Click on Edit, Preferences, and search Node Wrangler. Okay, make sure to enable it. Okay, pretty handy for making shader nodes. Okay, then click on the node Musgrave texture and press Ctrl T. All right, with that done, have it in default. Okay, you do not have to change anything. Okay, and if you tweak around with the position or maybe the rotation. You can have various different effects, okay, which is pretty cool, right? Scale, you can change the scale over here as well, or you may want it on single axis. Detail, it controls how much detail you're adding to the texture, okay. You can have it on max or maybe a little bit less to add, variation in randomness, okay. And then dimension, I do not know what dimension does, okay. Look crispy, also I have no idea what it does here, but mainly you'll be focusing on these location or maybe rotation, okay. Now that we have seen this, let's add a bloom effect, okay. So to add a bloom effect, you can go to render and check mark bloom to, have a make it look a little bit nicer, okay, because when we are gonna animate it, it's gonna look pretty bright, okay. Now I want to change the color here to something different, okay. Maybe let's have brown, no, something like this, yeah. Okay, great. And have it on white, yeah. If you're using bloom and you want to add some, colorful colors here and there, you can, but I mostly have it on white because it looks the best for last color node, okay. You may add more colors and make sure to drag it closer to the left hand side, because if you do not, then the colors will spread out and the white and the last color won't appear, okay. So that's about it for the material part, right? Now comes the fun part, the animation. So how do we animate, right? Because if you observe here, I don't see any keyframes, right? Because if you have some experience with Blender, you will know that every, let's take an example. Okay, suppose I select this mesh here. You know when we can add keyframes when you see this dot property, right? And it even says you can animate it, right? However, I don't see any option like that in shader, right? So can we actually animate it? Yes, you can. So here's where drivers come into play, okay? So drivers enables us to control each component of the texture, basically the math component, the vectors, okay? And it's pretty handy when you are, trying to, you know, deal with positions of the texture, okay? So position, rotation, or scale, or whatever, right? So here, for creating a you know effect like this, if you see, I scale it and it doesn't animate because I haven't added the keyframe or something like that. That's because you can I haven't added the driver to it. So to add a driver, you have to press on where you want the keyframe to be or which value you're manipulating, okay. So let's take an example of maybe, let's take an example of this, okay. So rotation, press on this, okay. Let me zoom in on a bit because I'm kind of limited on how much I can edit in a video, okay, at the moment. So now After you press on this, type hashtag frame, F-R-A-M-E, frame. This will indicate that this frame will be animated, and then press the asterisk sign, which will indicate multiplication, and have a value of around, you can have it on any value. Okay, this value will determine how determine the rate at which the rotation will be, rotation will take place. So 0.02 rate. Okay, so do this, and if you press spacebar, you'll see it's animated, which is pretty neat. All right, great. So yeah, that's about it. And you can go ahead and tweak around over here as well, similarly into 0.02. Right? So you have this going on. Pretty neat, right? So now that we have the whole animation and settled, let's go ahead and actually render out the animation. Okay. So for rendering out, you need to have a camera on display. Okay. You need to have a camera in the scene. Okay. But I want to animate this whole area right here. Okay. This whole area. So this will be my capture frame. Okay. So for this, there is a simple shortcut. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go to layout so that I can show you the screencast. I don't know why in shading it's not showing the screencast, but I'm gonna show you here. Okay, so you have to make sure the camera is there. Okay, if it's not there, then press Shift A and go to search bar and add a camera. Okay, search for camera and add it to the scene, and then after that press on Control Alt 0. Okay, after pressing Control Alt 0, it will have the camera go to the position of the current view in the viewport. Okay, now you can press G to grab the camera and then place it on the appropriate location. If it seems that it's not in the right position, press G again and control uh, press Z, okay, for the backward movement of the camera. Okay, you can also animate the camera, but for this purpose we are just focusing on rendering a still image which is animating. Okay, we are not moving the camera, we are only rendering out the mesh. Okay, rendering out the animation itself in the mesh. Okay, so this is what it looks like here. Okay, you may change the end frame as you like, up to you. All right, so you can see there is no keyframes added. I'm not sure, okay, because we haven't actually added any keyframes. We are using drivers to move the textures in different position based on the vectors. Okay, so as you know, vector has three values, x, y, z, okay, for location, rotation, and as well as scale. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. And now for rendering out, you can click on render image, and you'll get this, right? Pretty neat. And now let's go ahead and try to render out the animation. So you can press on Control F. But before you do that, okay, I'm gonna give you another quick tip. Okay, when you're rendering a sprite like this, suppose, or sprite, or maybe something different or whatever. Okay, if you want to have the background to be transparent, you need to make sure to go to render, go to film, okay, and click on transfer. Okay, this will make sure that the image or the animation that's rendered out has transparent animation with only the mesh. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. And now I can render out the animation. I do not. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to render out the animation as well. Here, go to output, and here under output there is a folder. Okay, a temp folder. If you press on the folder icon here, it will be led to the location of where it's rendered out by default, but you can change it to anywhere else. Okay. Uh, uh, okay. I suppose I should just go ahead and show you an example. Okay. Example. Okay. Select the folder and press accept. Then have it on RGBA, okay, because we actually have it on transparent, so alpha value does matter, okay. As you know, color values have RGBA, or the fourth one determines the transparency value, okay. So if it's transparency, meaning, you know I suppose you do know what transparency is. Basically, a object can be either opaque or transparent depending on the alpha value. Okay, so right now the alpha value on the background is 0, so it's transparent. That's why during rendering, RGBA is a must if you're having a transparent background. Okay, only for transparent background. If you want to have the solid color in the background, you can. So you can switch to RGB or something. But anyways, after you have these sorted out, go to render. Okay. And now you have to bake the animation actually. Okay. Actually, you do not have to bake the animation here. There is no bake option right now here. You can press go to camera view by pressing numpad 0, okay, and go to render animation, and it will bake on its own. Okay, so here it's going on baking the animation, and it will take some time, so I'll be back after it's rendered out. Okay, another thing, and that is, if the baking process of the animation is taking a while, that's because you have a lot of frames. So I should have actually decreased the number of frames here I had here. Okay. And also the resolution size also matters. Okay. Because depending on the resolution that you're set, it will determine the image size of every frame that is rendered out. Okay. So make sure to keep it low as possible. I'm going to cancel the render because I do not want to have a hefty space in my drive right now. I can delete it, but temporary data is kind of annoying to remove. So I'm gonna show you the folder where it's rendered out. Okay, so here's the folder where it's rendered out. So we have all of these. Okay. Uh, okay, let me increase the size. Guess it. Yeah, yeah. Here it is. Now you can see that each image is around almost 2 MB, 1.92 MB. But if you had decreased the resolution size here, you would have it in KBs, okay? All right. If you want high res, totally high res, that's totally up to you. But I mostly prefer to like to conserve how much the image size is rendered out. Okay, that's totally up to you. All right. And now if you have it loop animation, you can see the animation is going on. Okay, so yeah, depending on where you use it, yeah, just make sure to have it in have all the render images in a sequence. Okay, so that's the cool thing about this. It's already numbered out the frames, all of the frames, and that's about it. Okay, that's pretty handy, but let me just give you one last warning about this is that, or one thing you need to know, that this animation, this thing is actually, I think you can actually bake the whole thing. Okay, let me just try it out. So for baking the image, okay, baking it into one singular image, you need to press Shift A and press image texture. Okay, then press new and I'll give it a name, okay, water, and then press OK. All right, now go to over here, render cycles. So here's the thing, right? You okay? So you can see the material in cycles. That means you can actually render out or bake it. Okay. So what I mean by baking is that if you bake this texture that or material that you made, right, into if you are able to see this material in cycles as well, that means you can use it, export this mesh, and then use it in some game or anywhere else. So basically, you'll have a 3D model of this exported out as an FPS. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. So I have the mesh selected and press this. Okay. This is the image texture that will store or convert this whole, unwrap this whole thing over here. Okay. However, one thing to note here is that it will only, okay, let me show you. If I split the screen here, split the screen, go to timeline. Yeah. Now this is animating, that's well and good, okay. But I think you'll have to, bake each and every frame image separately because it just wouldn't work. Okay, suppose I'm baking the texture for the first frame. Okay, so how do we do that? Go to output. Was it an output? I kind of forgot. Let's see, where is the bake animation? Here it is, bake. There's so many options here, it's hard to keep track of. Okay, I'm gonna reduce the frames actually here. Okay, to okay. Actually, that doesn't matter. I'm gonna bake it anyway. But before you press the bake option, you need to make sure the mesh is actually UV unwrapped. What I mean by UV unwrapped is that it should be in such a way that uh, such that if you're importing it in a game or somewhere else, the game engine that you're using, I mostly use a game engine, that's why I'm taking that example. Okay, but wherever you import it elsewhere, okay, it needs to be able to read the texture. Okay, that's why UV unwrapping actually helps us to read the texture and apply it onto the mesh. Okay, so press A here. Okay, I don't know why the screencast keys aren't working here as well. Press A to select all the vertices. Press UV, Smart UV Project, and have it by default and press OK. Okay. Great. Now this looks like a pretty big mesh, okay, because there's you know lot too many vertices, okay. So anyways, I suppose it will do, but you need to have it unwrapped anyway, okay. So yeah, having good topology is also pretty important for baking any type of texture onto a mesh, okay. So go ahead and select this. We are baking the fourth frame, okay, and press bake, and this will start baking, okay. So I'm gonna be back after it's done baking. I know it's been a pretty long video, but yeah, explaining each and every step is kind of long, okay. It's pretty lengthy, but hey, I hope you guys are able to follow along, okay. Hope my explanations aren't too complicated. I'm gonna give a link to few basic tutorials on not poly noise and color RAM, okay, and also for baking, okay, which will be pretty useful. Okay, wait a minute. I think I should have. I will see what happens, okay. Honestly, uh, I suppose it should be able to bake, okay, but the texture baking will take quite a lot of time, actually. Yeah, it will take a lot of time, so I think you guys can try that out on your own. If it doesn't work, let me know in the comment section, okay? Uh, yeah, this is the worst part about baking, and I think I forgot to change the resolution size again. Wow. All right, I'm canceling the bake, okay? And yeah, that's about it for the tutorial. Go ahead and try baking it, okay. Make sure to set the resolution size low so that it takes less time to bake the textures, okay. So that's about it, and I'll see you guys on the next tutorial. Until then, bye bye.